It goes right back. I remember as a little girl, my mum buying me a bag of clay and going out into the shed in the back garden and doing a portrait of someone, which I thought was great. But that was a very, very long time ago, and I enjoyed it so much. But I never had an opportunity of going to art college, although I desperately wanted to whenever I left school. But the possibility of me going to art school was totally remote. I came over to London just before the Troubles broke out in Northern Ireland. So there was no going home, and I got a job in an advertising agency, and as the years passed I got in with a crowd of people that worked in the creative department, and I remember them saying, what would you like to be? And I always said, well, what I really always wanted to be is be like you. I wanted to go to art college. And they said, well, why don't you? And I thought, well, why don't I? And I did a foundation course first. I went on to do three-dimensional design at Middlesex, but I was drawn to clay. Then when we decided to move out of London, I was just second year into my three-dimensional design. I started to commute up to Middlesex, but it was such a long journey that I decided to see if I could get into ceramics at Bath, which I did. I think it just took me a long time to discover myself and let go and to know what I really wanted. It took me a long time to discover a route that was right for me. Every single piece I make is totally unique, and sometimes I start with a vague idea, a very vague idea of how it's going to progress, and then change it as it's being made and produced. I like the forms to be very simple, be quite circular. I like the thought that one line holds up another line, and the thought that you can look through the piece as well, and hopefully it works in every angle that you view it from. I have a sort of a library of cutouts that I've used before in the past. Sometimes I might just have a piece of paper in front of me and just do a line. In a way, that's what I'm trying to do in the sculpture, the perfect line. When I roll out the slabs, which are about 1 centimetre, then I have to leave it a couple of days. Actually, I leave the first slab maybe 2 to 3 days until it's got leather hard, and it's in a good situation for to cut out and get good lines. Then I start to construct. Normally I work on 3+ pieces that will all be lined up in the studio. I might even do as many as 10, 15 pieces. When I've cut out the pieces, I score down the outsides, round the ends and along the either side of the flats. So it's all scratched out, and then I'll put slip along, put it all together, and then using a wooden batten to hammer everything down into place. And then I go round it with a set square when I've done one bit to make sure that it is at a right angle to the bottom, and also like smooth it off nicely. Because even whenever I'm cutting out, I sometimes get raw little lines, and leave that overnight so that everything can fuse together happily. It's all about waiting for the slab to go off, and then once I start to build, waiting for that to go off before I start to move into the next bit of putting these various elements together. I'll pick one of the pieces I've done the day before, put it up, and probably if I might decide to twist it slightly, just to stop it being completely square. I'll then try out a couple of pieces or look at it and see which I think will be the best companion for to move it along into the next route of where I want to go. And I don't necessarily want to go the safe route. I'd like to sort of push it. I'll support everything all the way through. I've got a vast collection of foam sanding blocks. They can be built up together and left at angles, but they've got enough flexibility to allow for the shrinkage of the clay and the movement of the clay, but stable enough for to hold it in position. After the join has been put together, it sometimes shrinks in just a little bit. So I'll put a little strip of clay and build it up slightly all the way round. All along I'm fettling and making sure all the edges are nice and sharp, and the pieces that are joined together are also sort of knocked back and kept nice and clean. As the work slowly evolves, I don't fill in the two ends of the form until I'm completely satisfied, because sometimes if I do have a little bit of collapse, I can stick a piece of rod down and push out the pieces from inside. I'm thinking of making a wall piece, and I've put some holes in the back to hold the piece that will slide onto the wall. I make sure the pieces are well dried. I do a rather quick firing. I fire the piece to 1060. When they come out, I then do an undercoat of white paint. If it's going to be a very dark colour, sometimes I do it black undercoat. I still have not made up my mind at that point what colour it's going to be, or how it's going to be finished, or whether it is going to be paired with another piece. I come into the studio and I look at it once it's all painted white, almost like the side of my eye, and I think that would look good, such and such a colour. And I go along with it. I've got all these paints and very seldom use them straight from the jar. I always have to mix something else with it because it may be just a little bit too much of a tone in the wrong direction. And it is like the piece is telling me I should be this colour. I quite like that. It's still the boss. With some of the pieces, they're going to be reflected down on the surface that they're sitting on. That is thought about. The shadows are thought about. And for the wall pieces that are here, I paint at the back of them with fluorescent paint because I really like the thought that it's almost important that the back almost looks as good as the front, or there's something else happening, something else sneaking in there and telling me another little secret.